hey, I should remember that, you have a very low chance, about 20% chance of remembering it as soon as like 3 days from now. So by the time Christmas comes and goes, it's gone out of your memory, right? For most of you. But if you hear it, if you write it as you're writing it, guess what else you're doing? You're reading it, right? And then what you can do is you can go back later. I want you to speak it. And now what you're doing is you're engaging all of your senses. You have about 90 to 100% chance of remembering this for years. Okay, so this applies, by the way, to any type of class or information that you're going through. And I know you guys are right on top of those things, so you probably do a pretty good job of this. But I want to challenge you to take notes, pay close attention, and also, if you can, turn on your video so that we can kind of engage. I'm going to be asking some questions, just because we don't want to have everybody's microphone coming on and coming off and people forgetting that your microphone is on, and then you have that embarrassing Zoom moment when you're yelling at your sister in the other room. I don't want anybody doing that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a thumbs up or thumbs down on your screen. So if more people can share their screen, we'll have more engagement there. As I'm asking some of those questions, just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down for yes or no, and you guys can figure out which one you think is which. But what I want to do is I want to really focus here on going through a really important concept of going into some of the details about how finance works. As I can get my PowerPoint loaded here. So when we look at all the different areas of finance, it kind of comes down to one thing. Our goal is to become financially independent. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, hey, that sounds like a great goal, but maybe down the road. Well, at some point in your life, this is going to be an important thing for you. It's going to be an important topic, becoming financially independent. What does financial independence mean? It means you can do whatever you want to do with your time because you no longer have to worry about doing things for money anymore. Okay, so it's financial freedom, financial independence. You're independent from having to earn a living because you already have enough money. You already have a business built. You already have passive income coming in. One of those things is very, very important. And financial independence, some people call it retirement. What is retirement? You no longer have to work. You can just live off of what you've already saved, right? So retirement, financial independence, they're the same thing. But in today's world, we don't have to, if we do it right, we don't have to wait around for a specific retirement age. You think back to, maybe let's say your parents, when is a time that you think your parents would want to retire or did retire? And what do you guys think? You think 65 is the most popular answer? Is 65? If you think 65 is the answer when most people retire, give me a thumbs up. If you think it's younger than that, give me a thumbs down. It looks like most people are putting a thumbs up, 65, but very few say retirement happens any younger than that. And why would that be? Well, it's because there are certain mechanisms that are built into our jobs and our retirement accounts and things like that that allow us to retire at the age of 65. One of them is that we have a pension account, which is basically our company keeps paying us after we stop working for them. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, that was the way that people retired for years and decades and generations, is that they had a pension account through their company. So you work for them for 20 or 30 or 40 years, and they'll keep paying you a portion of your salary even after you no longer work for them for the rest of your life. Now, it was a pretty good deal, but guess what? People were not living as long back then, right? Does that make sense? But they were also working for the company for 20, 30, or 40 years, very commonly, and then they retired. And they worked for one company. If you think to your grandparent or something like that, they probably worked for a company for a long time. What do you guys think now? Do you think people are working for the same company for 20 years straight? What do you guys think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Do you think they're working at the same company for 20 years? That's not that common, right? So they work for a company for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they're looking for the next opportunity, and they're shifting and going. So if you work for a company for 3 or 4 years, and then you want them to pay for 20 years of your retirement, do you think that's a good deal for them? It's not, right? So they got rid of the pension, and now they said you have to save yourself. You have to save money yourself. And so we're left with the burden of taking care of our own financial freedom by ourselves. It's not our companies that are taking care of us anymore. We have to take care of ourselves. And why? Because most people are not working for the company for 20 or 30 years anymore. And so the companies can't do it out of their pocket anymore. So we have to go through and teach about these concepts, because it is very important that you understand that the responsibility is going to fall on you to take care of yourself. Now, in my eyes, that's a very empowering statement. because we're going to show you exactly the steps that you would need to take today, tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, exactly the steps you need to take and in the right order to be able to take care of yourself for your entire future. And guess what? Retirement no longer means age 65. I want you guys to wash that away from your brain. We're going to unlearn some things today. Who's down for unlearning a few things today? We're going to unlearn that retirement means age 65. Now, when I came in the industry 10 years ago, I thought retirement meant 65. And in fact, my dad was 65, was turning 65. He was 64. He was a couple months away from turning 65. My dad was. And I said, hey, Dad, you're about to turn 65. This is what I thought happened. He's about to turn 65. And I said, hey, guess what? You're going to get to retire in a couple of months. And he goes, well, I kind of want to keep working. And I'm like, no, you don't. You hate your job. You always complain about it and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do it anymore is what you said to me. And really what he was saying was, even though he was telling me, I'll keep working for a few more years, he was really saying, I haven't prepared enough. I haven't planned enough to be able to put myself on track. To be able to retire at the age that I was supposed to, which in his case was he was supposed to retire at 65. And so I started then to ask questions about what I was learning and some of the things that you guys are going to learn today. I was new in the company. I had seen, this presentation and a couple others, but I was still pretty new. And I started asking him some of these questions and I started probing him and saying, hey, do you have this set up? Do you have this? And what I realized is that he needed a lot of help in planning his finances to be able to retire. And so I went to work and started helping him out on those things. And he had some very good things in place, but they needed to be kind of shifted and moved around. And that's one of the services that we offer and provide to people is to teach not only about how to save money if you haven't started yet. We're going to cover that a lot today, but also how do you take what you've already done and how do you rearrange it a little bit, or how do you add to it, or how do you enhance it so that it's done in a better way? Because what I did is I went to work on helping my dad, as an example, in getting a few things in order. And we set him up with several different accounts and we did it for certain purposes, right? That we're going to put him on track. And then fast forward a few years later, he just actually retired this last January, the end of January, which was, I don't know, about a few weeks before a global pandemic hit. He had retired. And for most people, what happened when the pandemic hit, the market was doing this, the market crashed right when the pandemic hit, because everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're in quarantine, we have to stay home. The stock market dropped. And in a traditional sense, if my dad had traditional retirement plan set up, he would have had to come out of retirement a month into his retirement. Now, thumbs up or thumbs down. You wait for 40, 50 years to retire. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to come out of retirement after a month, or do you want to be able to stay in retirement? So who wants to be able to come out of retirement after a month? I don't think so, right? So what happened was, because we had set up with the right accounts, he was able to stay in retirement without having any effect on his finances. Now, any effect is a pretty strong statement, but that's the power of the products and services that we offer. And I want you guys to know that that's a really, really important part of what we do, is teaching people. And now we're going to be covering a lot about how you get started, how it matters, for maybe you, as opposed to somebody that's right before retirement. But I want you guys to let you know that those things are there. Those things are important. And we want to cover both things, but we're going to spend most of our time today, is that fair, talking about what's going to benefit you guys directly. That's one of our passions, is helping people make informed decisions and take back control over their finances. But our second passion is to help actually young professionals learn leadership skills and start on their career path, entrepreneurship. We're growing the financial industry, right? Our financial industry, and I've been here for about 10 years, I've seen a lot of changes in here. And right now it is set up in a very unique way that now, guess what? Guess how we're meeting? Everybody know how we're meeting right now? We're all, I don't know, at home right now. We're meeting virtually, right? Does that make sense? We're meeting online in a video chat room. If you would have said this, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, it would have been like, this sounds like a weird meeting, right? We're all here in a Zoom chat. Some people have, a background behind them. It's not, you don't even know what's behind them. They could be outside. We don't know, but it's normal now, right? So we're in a unique spot, and our industry is actually thriving through this time, because guess what? For me to actually see every single one of you, and for you to actually be able to see me, we'd all have to drive to the same place, be there at the same time, deal with the traffic, deal with the parking. You have to come in, right? You have to dress up. Some of you have to, dress up with your with you know, above the waist and below the waist. Right now with Zoom, you can wear sweatpants, right? But guess what? Our industry now is limitless. It's boundless. We're able to meet with people in settings that we weren't able to before. We might be too far apart in distance, but we don't have to be too far apart in knowledge and in understanding and in connection. Now we can meet in a different setting. And so that's a very important, and it's accelerating the opportunities that we have for entrepreneurship and leadership development and things like that. And so that's a really, really important part of our business. And it's key to be able to understand that's going to play a big part in the future, right? So let's look at the majority of people out there. Okay, so I know this isn't you guys. I know, you know, you guys are gonna be in the second category over here, but just for everybody else other than you, just the majority fits into this plan. Okay, so what's gonna happen is, as you maybe come out of school, you're starting a career, and you're gonna go take what's called an entry-level position. Entry-level position, you're going to be making under $60,000 a year in income. And in some cases, significantly lower than that for certain entry-level positions, because you got to pay your dues. Anybody ever heard that before? You have to pay your dues. You have to go work for a company, right? For a long time, and then you'll kind of work your way up. So entry level, you're going to be starting somewhere in that area. You don't have yet a financial plan. You don't have a financial advisor. You're going to use the bank to save all of your money, which gives you a lower rate of return, and we'll be covering what that means for you long term. You don't have any life insurance yet. You maybe have, through your job, they'll offer you benefits, right? That would be good. You can have a job, you get an entry level job, you're starting to make some money. They'll give you benefits like a retirement plan, in this case, a 401k plan. So that's your first note that you want to take down. A 401k plan, if you haven't heard of that before, is a traditional retirement plan that you're going to have through your job. And what that is it's now your job to save for your retirement. That used to be a pension. And guess what? Your company used to put money in there for your pension, but they no longer do that. They say you get a 401k plan, and we'll consider putting in money. Some of them put in a little bit of money for you, but for the most part, it's your responsibility. But guess what? They're not going to teach you how that plan works. They're not going to give you any education. They're not going to help you out. You're sort of on your own to understand how that 401k plan works. You're going to have probably some student loans when you come out of your school. You might have some credit card debt. We'll be covering those things today as well. You'll probably be renting an apartment most likely to start out. And you don't really use any of your what's called tax advantages. The tax advantages are things that are out there that you can use that only some people do, and other people just let them kind of go and expire and be gone and not actually ask questions about them. But this is a majority of people, okay? It's a majority. Now there will be, and this is probably where all of you guys are going to fit into, there will be a large group at the top that represents a small number of people. And these are going to be people that are we would consider to be very successful. They're going to be making, let's say, more than $250,000 a year in income. So they're doing pretty well in terms of income. They have a financial professional. In fact, they have a team of professionals that they work with. They work with CPAs and attorneys and advisors and consultants and things like that to be able to help them with their own personal planning or their own personal business, whatever it is. They're going to have a diversified portfolio of investments, which means they're going to earn a potentially higher rate of return. They do have life insurance. They're going to have what's called a permanent type of life insurance. And they're going to have also what's called an IUL plan and a Roth IRA. These are examples of what we call tax-free savings vehicles. Tax-free. Now, some of you maybe to this point are kind of falling asleep. You're like, I don't know about this Tim guy. He said something like 408K. I don't know. He told me to write it down, but I forgot to write it down. And then all of a sudden you hear tax-free and you wake up a little bit. Okay, so boom. Wait, give me a thumbs up if that woke you up a little bit. Tax-free. Now guess what? Are taxes a big deal? Taxes are only the single biggest bill you're ever going to pay in your entire life. Let me say that again. They're the single biggest bill, taxes are, that you're ever going to pay. So you should pay a lot of attention to taxes, because if there is a way to steer around them, you're going to want to remember this. And how do we remember it? We write it down, we read it, we hear it, we read it later, we speak it, and guess what? You're going to remember these things. So IUL plans and Roth IRAs are ways to save money and never be taxed on it again. You'll never be taxed on it again. So guess what? If you're young, which guess what? You all qualify for that one. If you go into a plan like this and never have to pay taxes on it again in the future, you will win financially more than your peers. Just that alone, if you can avoid the tax part. And we'll cover that as well today. You're not, also this top group, the top 3%, which is going to be you guys, you're debt free. You're going to be maybe a homeowner very soon, and you're using all of your tax advantages. It's a small percentage of people, but you know what? How did these people get here? They used financial professionals to get there. They didn't try to do everything on their own. It's very challenging to do that on your own and teach yourself, because there's a lot of information out there. And frankly, there's a lot of bad information. You have to work with people that are licensed, that have to work. Their license says you have to work in your best interest, instead of just printing a book and saying, hey, everybody, follow my ideas. This one worked for me. It might work for no other people, but they can print it. And you could read it and you could follow it. And then maybe 20 years later, you find out that was the wrong plan. So you want to work with financial professionals through that. And what we do is we provide all the education, right? We teach you through step by step everything you need to do. We have all the products that you have to work with, all the companies that you want to connect with. We actually have relationships with all of them, and we can help to introduce you to the right places. And we do all of this, all of our products and services, we do complimentary. So complimentary means free. Oh, just saw a couple of people wake up when I said free. All right, so tax-free, no taxes. That's a wake-up call, right? And you can have all of the services that we provide free, no money. You don't have to put anything down. There's no payment plan. There's no, hey, sign up for our email list, and then we're going to spam you for the rest of your life, where you have to open up these emails saying with all this information you don't want. No, we work for you, and then we don't charge you. We still do get paid. We actually charge the companies that we help you open accounts with, which is good news for you too. It's good news for us. We still get paid. You get the financial education, complimentary, which means you don't have to pay for it. So that's a very, very good offer that we have for our clients, which is why our company is growing so tremendously well, and why we're really making an impact in a lot of communities out there. Now, I want you guys to think back, for those of you that are still in high school, I want you to think back to, like, I don't know, your freshman or your sophomore year, right? And for those of you that are not in high school, I want you to think back to high school. And I'm going to do the same. And I'm going to put myself in one of the classrooms that I was in. I got the teacher in mind. Everybody think of a teacher, the teacher that you kind of, didn't really, you liked the class, but the teacher you didn't really like, or you thought they were funny. Just put yourself in a situation where you're back there and you're kind of laughing about it, okay? So do you realize that only 17 states out of, how many do we have? How many states do we have? 50. Only 17 states require personal finance as a course to be able to graduate, okay? I want you guys to look. I don't know if most of you guys are in California or not, but let's look at California here, because that's where I'm at. California, not on the list, right? There is no class in personal finance required to graduate from high school. Now, I want you to think about all these subjects that you've been in so far or previously. How many of them do you feel like are going to be important for the rest of your life? Some of them will. Will all of them be important for the rest of your life? I don't know. I think about some of the things I learned in like a chemistry class, and then there was like a boron and some other thing. I'm surprised I even remember some of these. I'm like, I don't think I'll ever really need to know that again, unless I'm going through and studying that in my college studies, right? But there's a lot of things that we learn throughout school, but a lot of it is applicable during the time we're in school. And then after school is over, we need to now go learn a new set of things. Well, what if we start incorporating some of those things into our actual curriculum as we go through? By the way, I think we should have a personal finance course for elementary school. Teach it at a different level, but I think we should have that. I think we should have it in junior high. I think we should have it in high school. I think we should have it in college. I think we should have it for young adults that are after college. And I think we should consistently be teaching people how money works, because money is going to be a factor in every decision that you make in your entire life. You don't eat a meal without considering how much it's costing you. And you do it subconsciously. If you're hungry and you got like $5 in your pocket, you're like, I feel like fast food. But if you're hungry and you got 20 bucks in your pocket, you're like, I feel like Cheesecake Factory. Now, why is that? Well, because we're constantly making decisions with money involved in the decision, and we're doing it without thinking about it. Now, again, our goal is to get you to a stage where every decision you make, you don't have to think about money. And that is true freedom, because being free from money is exactly where you want to be. But we have to start by teaching people. And we have to realize is that the school system, I love the school system. I love that we're educating people. I love that, we're going through and we're trying to better ourselves by our future. But the school system in the traditional sense and how it's built, in my opinion, fails a lot of students in teaching them about this topic: business, money, finance, personal finance, how it works. Now, you might be in I think this is what, EmpowerEcon, right? This is a great course where you're learning a lot about economics and things like that. Well, we think about, I was an economics major in college, and I learned a lot about how companies worked. I learned a lot about how the government would make money, how the government economics, how corporate economics would work. But I learned very little about personal economics. Now, guess what? You're part of this program here, and now you're being taught about personal finance, right? So you're in the right course to get yourself on track, which is a big, big deal. But you got to make sure you're doing what? Paying attention and taking notes. Okay. Otherwise, this will be gone by the time you're returning what you didn't like out of your Christmas gifts on this weekend on Sunday. All right. So let's look at this. Student loans. Okay. Now, student loans are, in my opinion, one of the hot topics for your generation that is going to be an even bigger deal. College tuition is going up and up and up and up at a rate that is faster than anything else, including medical costs. Okay, so medical costs are skyrocketing and going up and up and up. College tuition is going at a faster rate. You look here, this blue line that we have here actually is since 1999. That is all US debt other than student loans. So let's just call it credit cards. Credit cards, do you guys think credit cards are a good deal for you or a bad deal for you? What do you guys think? Thumbs up, good deal for you. Thumbs down, bad deal for you. Okay, so most of you guys are saying it's a bad deal for you. Some of you are like, credit cards, man, I get to spend money and I get to charge you to this piece of plastic. Oh, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about financially a very bad deal for you, and we'll cover that today as well. But credit cards are a bad deal for you. Why? Because they have a very high interest rate on them. Okay, so they have a very high interest rate. You're going to pay a lot more money than whatever you purchased. You're going to pay more for what you purchased than you could have if you paid out of cash. But credit cards, they have a very high interest rate, which means they grow very rapidly. And you look here, since 1999, they've grown almost 150%. Is that cumulative US debt other than student loans? Now let's look at student loans. That's the red line on here. It's grown over 500%. Now credit cards are not a good deal for you financially. They're actually one of the worst places for you to have debt owed is credit cards, and those are being outpaced by student loans. Student loans have grown a ton. Now this is the amount that you owe. The amount that you owe has grown 500% in the last 20 years. That is not a good thing. Student loans are out of control. They're growing at a rate that's really, so some of you might be getting student loans. You might already have student loans. You might be on a path to having them. It's very important you understand how they work and how to actually handle those things, because if you don't, it can actually get out of hand like this. And we think about that student loan growth, that's a big deal. 500% increase. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have 500% of anything going in the wrong direction. And that's basically what we're dealing with as a country. So very, very important for you guys to educate yourselves about these things, right? So let's look at the student loan debt and the impact that it's going to have on you. Okay, when you graduate from college, about 70% of students are going to have some type of student loan debt, and the average debt balance is around $30,000, just a little bit under $30,000. Okay, so you guys are going to want to write this one down, because this is something you're going to want to repeat to one of your classmates, to one of your parents, to one of your friends. I want you to write this down. The average student loan debt balance upon graduation is $30,000. Let's just round it up for easy math. $30,000. What that means is for every $30,000 in debt that you have when you graduate, you're going to have about $300,000 less when you want to retire. So if you have $30,000 of debt when you graduate, you're going to have about $300,000 less in retirement dollars. Why? Because you're going to go and start paying off these student loans instead of paying for your retirement. Now, that doesn't mean that you are absolutely set up to be have a $300,000 less of retirement dollars. It means if you don't take the steps to do everything, you end up on the average, you're going to on average have about $300,000 less in student loans. Now, guess what? You guys are in this group. You're in EmpowerEcon. You're here doing multiple classes, multiple day event. This is day 2. I'm very excited to hear some of the other things that you guys are going over in this class. I think this is a great program. You're not part of the average. Now, I want to give me thumbs up if you think you're just part of the average, or if you think you're going to end up being more successful than the average. I want you to say, I don't want to be a part of the average. Who doesn't want to be part of the average? We want to be part of the great group. Okay. So if you take the steps, that won't apply to you. But if you don't, you're going to end up on the average. And you don't want to be anything financially speaking, you don't want to end up part of the averages. You want to be on the successful side of things, right? So about 20% of people are going to get rid of that student loan debt balance over a 5 to 10 year period. That's a pretty high number, 20%. So, we only have to be in the top 20% to get rid of that. So it's not like, we're asking you to, do anything like, be, a one out of a million type of person who gets out of their student loan debt very quickly. About 20% do. And we just combine the next two numbers, about 25% are either past due or they're defaulting. Defaulting means they are severely past due. And that is a lot of stress on you, especially if you're trying to build a career. About 40% of people have delayed some type of a major purchase. Maybe you said, I'm not going to buy a house until I'm paid off in student loan debt, whatever it is. So you're going to put off a major purchase. A lot of people put off, going back to school, continuing their schooling until they pay off their first one. A lot of times they move back with their family. I did that. I moved back with my family after college, and that's becoming a lot more common. A lot of parents think that, hey, I have a kid. They're turning 18. They're going to move out, and they're never going to move back home. But majority of students are actually moving back home after college to try to get their career on track, right? So that's something that we want to definitely be aware of is out there. And again, there's steps that we can do to solve any of these things that you don't like, that you're like, man, I don't like that. I don't like that statistic. There are steps that you can take right now to get yourself so you never have to be a part of the statistic. You never want to be part of a statistic. You want to be the outlier. You want to be the exceptional one, right? 25% took a job that they didn't want in order to pay off their student loans. I'm not saying don't do that, but if your goal is to be in a career that you love and you're going and taking jobs that you hate, you're kind of not meeting your goals, right? You're kind of delaying a part of your life for a few years to be able to pay off a student loan debt. Now, what if you can be in a job that you love and gets you out of student loan debt? That's the idea. You guys are getting it now. Okay. And a lot of other people delayed some type of committed relationship, including marriage, because of student loans, not because of any other reason, just because of student loans. So very, very big deal. So let's talk for a second. Let's go into some concepts. These are what I call financial principles. Now, I'm not talking about principle like the person that runs your school there. I'm talking about financial principles. And what's a financial principle? It means it's something that always works. Not it works most of the time. Not it works on the average. Not it works for some people. It works all of the time. It's a financial principle. You can think of it like a truth. Okay. So this is one called the Rule of 72. Now, for those of you that woke up when I said tax-free or I said complimentary, no cost to you, financial consultation, for those of you that woke up for those two things, this is a next wake-up moment, okay? So let's sound the buzzer here. Okay, so everybody needs to wake up and listen to this one because this is the one that caught my attention, and I think is a very good chance for some of you on here. This one's going to wake you up financially. The Rule of 72. Now, Albert Einstein, have you guys heard of him before? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Albert Einstein, a very, very smart guy. He calls this concept compound, which is called compound interest. Compound interest. He calls this the eighth wonder of the world. So you go through and you look at this. What this does is this tells us how long it takes for our money to double, in value. The first question I had, and probably majority of you are saying, what is he talking about? Money doesn't double. That doesn't make any sense. That's what I thought. I said, I don't even know you could double your money. I thought you just kept saving and you just kept adding on to it. No, money can multiply. Money is not just an addition and subtraction thing. Money can actually multiply and double. Double means times 2, right? That's multiplication. So what we do, this Rule of 72, we take the interest rate or the rate of return, the rate of growth. In this case, let's say 1%. You go to your local bank, you make a deposit in there, they're going to pay you 0% for your troubles. They're going to pay you 0% growth. Your money's not going to grow at all if you go make a deposit at your local bank. But if you ask them, do you have any special type of accounts to give me a higher interest rate? They're going to let you know about something called a bank CD, which is, those things that we used to have to play music off of. You used to have to put it in the machine and sometimes it'd be scratched, the CD. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a certificate of deposit, which is what a bank gives you. Now, a bank's CD, certificate of deposit, may pay you 1%. And what that means is we take the number 1, we divide it into this magic number, 72, and it tells us how many years it takes for our money to double. So in this case, 72 years later, let's say we started out with $10,000. Well, 72 years from now, we're going to have $20,000. Now, who's excited about your money going from 10,000 to 20,000 over the course of 70 years? Anybody really excited about that? Now, what I want you to picture is that now you're 100 years old and you're going to go ahead. Now you're ready to plan your retirement party. You're going to invite all of your friends, and wait a minute, where do they all go? I'm like 100 years old. They probably couldn't make it there. They probably couldn't figure it out. Some of them might not even be around anymore. Okay. So guess what? Waiting 72 years for anything is too long. We are going to move on. That's not the plan. But if you keep your money in a bank account, even the best ones, that's going to be the story of your finances. So that's not you. I want you to just kind of put that one away. That's not for you. So we get a higher rate of return, 4%. 4% per year is how much your money grows. So if you have $100 and after a year it grows to 104, you have a 4% rate of return. That helps you guys visualize. Well, now 4 goes into that 72 18 times. And for those of you that were saying, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know there was going to be any math. But guess what? We're going to do the calculations for you. Don't even worry about it. But this formula works with any number. You can plug it in. So now every 18 years, your money is going to double. Now, 18 years, probably better than 72. So let's look here. If we start with 10,000, that 10,000 doubles to 20,000 18 years from now. And guess what? That 20,000 doubles from 20 to 40,000 in another 18 years. So now we're dealing with multiplication, right? We not only doubled the 10,000, we doubled the 20. And so now by the time we retire, we got $40,000, which is still probably not enough to retire off of for even maybe a year or two to live off of. So not too exciting yet. So if this is not where you want to be, we're going to move on. We're going to look at 6%. 6% interest. So now you're getting a better rate of growth. This is a lot more common for you to be able to find 6%. You can find these, but you have to ask the right questions. Money doubles now every 12 years. Every 12 years, which means 10,000 becomes 20, 20 becomes 40, 40 becomes 80. Now, what I want you guys to think about is not, hey, how much money do I want to have at the end? What column do I have to pick off of? I want you to think of this, the age that you are right now and the age that you want to stop working or become financially independent. How many doubles can you fit between today and when you want to stop working and become financially independent? That is what this is teaching you, not the age at a certain age, because you can change these numbers around. The length of time is all it is. So if you guys are 19 instead of 29, just subtract 10 years off of all of these, and it's the exact same formula. So that would be $80,000 by your mid-50s, which is a lot more exciting. Okay, so let's look at 10%. 10% now, your money's going to double every little over 7 years. So 7.2 years, which means 10,000 becomes 20, becomes 40, becomes 80, becomes 160, 320. You guys, look, this is hundreds of thousands of dollars of money by the time you're going to retire by putting up $10,000 once. Imagine if you kept putting money into this instead of just making a one-time contribution. Now, guess what? These numbers work with anything. So if you want to put less money, no worries. You put less money. You want to put more money, you can put more money. But the idea is, by putting $10,000 one time into the right financial vehicle, you had hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you were going to be financially independent and retired. That's a lot more exciting. Now, again, you're thinking, man, this retirement person, this is not me. That's my future self. It's a different person than me. I want to go spend my money. I want to go do nice things. Okay, so we're going to actually share with you why it's important for you to start saving without actually saving every dollar that you make to be able to do that, because saving every dollar is not going to be the best thing for you either, because it's not sustainable. Okay, just real quick here, some of the companies that we work with and represent, because we want to just let you know that we're doing business with some of the biggest players out there. You've seen these commercials. My favorite one, commercial-wise, is Nationwide. You guys have heard that, and you can kind of sing along with me silently. Nationwide is on your side. I saw a couple of you thinking about mouthing it, but you didn't realize that your mute button was on and nobody was going to hear you. It's okay. We'll get you next time. But Prudential, Franklin Templeton, Jackson, Pacific Life, huge companies huge financial powerhouses. And we work with all of these companies and a couple hundred other companies. The point is that we work with the biggest players in the financial industry to help our clients out, to help them out. And so whatever the case is, if they need to talk to this company, we can help them out with that. If they need to talk to this company, we can help them out with that. We customize it to each person. That's why I share the story about what we did to help out my dad. And that's why I'm sharing the story about what we're doing to help out, other people like yourself. So it doesn't matter where you're at in your financial journey, we have solutions and things to be able to help all different types of people. All right. So for those of you that were thinking, man, I really want to start saving, Tim, this makes a lot of sense. I want to see myself, retire young. Now, for those of you that would want to say you want to retire when you're supposed to, or do you want to retire at the time that you decide? Most people would say, yeah, I want to retire when I decide. You want to wait until 65. And by the way, traditionally speaking, nobody in this group is retiring at 65. Traditionally, guess what? Full retirement age is already 67 for people that are retiring today. For this group, it's going to be more like 70 plus. So if you want to wait until you're in your 70s to be able to retire, don't listen to anything that I'm going to cover from this point on. Just go ahead and do everything else that everybody else is doing. Follow along when you get a job. Just listen to the whoever's at the water cooler that day and ask them what they do with their finances, and you'll be on track to retire in your 70s. But if you want to actually beat that number, you want to retire at a younger age, even as young as 50 or younger, you need to pay attention to these things because this is very important. And you might be thinking, I don't want to learn this stuff. I don't want to start saving. I don't want to part with my money. I love buying things that I want to wear. I love buying the new PS5. I love buying new shoes. I love going out and spending money and going to concerts and going out to restaurants with friends. Hey, wait a minute, that stuff's easier to not spend money on right now. So no matter what the case is, we all have things that we spend money on that we probably know we don't need, but we still want to do it. I want to give you guys an alternate path, okay? Because to me, I always thought of saving money. What I thought saving money meant when somebody said, "Hey, do you want to save money?" Here's what I pictured. This jacket is $80 and it's on sale for $50. I just saved, by buying it, I just saved $30. That's what I thought saving money was. I saved $30 because I got this on a deal, on a discount. Guess what? That had actually nothing to do with saving money. You spent $50 on a jacket. Fact. Somebody else might have spent $80. That's not you. That has nothing to do with you. You spent $50 on a jacket. You spent money regardless of the sale or the discount. By the way, most sales and discounts are there and they're going to offer them. And guess what? You don't have to worry about what the full price is because hardly anybody's paying the full price anyways. They're just putting a full price on it to make you think that you're getting it at a discount. It's a $50 jacket. If they're willing to sell it to you for $50, it's a $50 jacket. Somebody else might have paid $80. Hey, more power to them. They wasted more money than they needed to get the jacket, but you still spent money. Now, saving money means you take your money, you put it somewhere in an account that you don't touch, and you put away for a period of time. That's what saving money is. Now, if you put it in a bank account, you get a very low rate of return. If you do some type of investment, you can get a higher rate of return, and we'll cover what those are. But here's an example of somebody that says, you know what, I want to go out and buy the PS5 this year because I've had the PS1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I've had every game, and I've spent, and I want to get the PS5 this year. And then next year, what's going to come out is the new Xbox is going to come out. You're going to say, I want to get that one. And you're going to say, I don't really want to start saving. Okay, so here's the thing. Somebody in this group is going to get this message, and they're going to say, you know what, Tim? You're right. I need to start saving. I'm young. I have the means to be able to put away a little bit of money. I want to start saving. So you're going to be person A. Now, I want you to think, if you're that person, you're going to start saving. Now, this is an example. Guess what? We can change these numbers around to any numbers that you want. But I want to give an example. Saving $5,000 a year. So for those of you saying, man, I'm going to take $5,000 every year of my own money and put it away in an account, guess what? It's still your money. Okay? All you're doing is you're just putting it to the side. It's still yours. You're just putting it to the side for the benefit of taking care of your future. Now, if that's too much money for you, we'll cover a way that you can actually be able to find that money and to be able to actually save it. But let's say you put away $5,000 a year. That's about $400 a month, a little bit more than $400 a month, into a vehicle called a Roth IRA. You start today. Let's say you're 20 years old, and you start today, and you keep putting in money until you're 60. So for 40 years, okay? So for 40 years, and your goal is to retire at 60, which is a little bit younger than most people do. Now, person B, I don't know who it is in this room, but some of you know your classmates and your peers here, and you're going to know, oh, that's the person that's buying stuff this holiday season. And guess what? They're not going to start saving this year. They're probably not going to start saving next year. But what's going to happen is person B is going to, in year 3, so 2 years from now, in the 3rd year, is going to start saving the same amount of money, $5,000 a year. But they're going to wait 2 years before they do it. Everybody follow so far? Thumbs up. Okay. All right, so everybody follows. So in the 3rd year, 2 year sitting out year 1 and 2, they're gonna start saving. Both people are earning the same rate of return of interest, which is 10% average rate of return. So $10,000 is how much more money person A put, and person B is going to start after 2 years, and they're going to retire at the same age at 60, but they only had their money in the account for 38 years. How long did person A have their money in the account for? 40 years. Person B had their money in the account for 38 years because they waited 2. So the difference is actually more than 10,000, but let's look at how much money person A has. There's a couple of commas in that number. Now, for those of you that don't know numbers, the income numbers, financial numbers, multiple commas is a good thing. That means you have $1 million. Okay, so this is $2.6 million. Now, how many commas can you fit in your number? You want to fit three commas. There we go. Now we're talking. All right, so $2.6 million off of saving 5,000. Are you kidding me? 2.6 million? You might be thinking, man, how do I have $1 million? How about 2.6? Here's how you do it. You save $5,000 a month into the right account. You work with the right people that are licensed that can help you out. And guess what? That's tax-free. You don't have to pay any tax on that because you use a tax-free financial vehicle. Person B, 2.1 million. Still pretty good, guys. Still got a couple commas in there. They're a millionaire, multi-millionaire, $2 million. But how much is the difference? Now, I haven't played the PS5 yet, but I would venture to guess it's not worth almost $500,000 of fun. It might be fun, but guess what? You probably got a friend that's going to have it too. You could probably be a little bit better of a friend to them and then go play it at their house. You guys get the idea? $500,000 if you started today instead of waiting for 2 more years. $500,000. Now, how much money are we talking about? $400 a month, give or take. $400. Where could you come up with $400 if you don't have that? You might be saying, Tim, I don't have $400. I'm a student. I don't have $400. Anybody know a place where you can go that they will pay you $100 a week to do something with your time? What am I talking about here? You go get a part-time job. To make $100 a week at $10 an hour, you got to work 10 hours a week. Does that make sense? You work 10 hours a week, part-time, above and beyond what you're doing. For those of you that don't work, go get a part-time job working 10 hours a week. For those of you that do work and that money is being used for other purposes, like paying for rent or paying for college, go get an additional part-time job for 10 hours a week. And guess what? What that will do is that will allow you to earn about $400 a month, 10 hours a week. So the difference between you becoming financially independent, having $2.6 million, or 2.1, if you want to wait 2 more years before you use these concepts, I don't mind as long as you took notes and you remember them. The difference between you becoming financially independent and never becoming financially independent is a 10-hour-a-week job at a retail store. Now, for those of you who are thinking, man, I got no shot to becoming super successful. Nobody in my family's ever been successful. I don't know how money works. I'm going to start saving later. I'm going to wait until I'm in my 40s to start saving for retirement. For those of you that are doing those things in your head right now, stop it. Stop it. You are literally a 10-hour-a-week job at any place that will employ you away from becoming financially independent and being on track. So 10 hours. So I just want to empower you guys that is so doable and so possible for you. And guess what? All you have right now is time. All you have right now is time. Now, are places hiring right now? I don't know. There's a lot going on in the world. So, you use your own imagination on that. But the whole idea is that you're not that far away from getting on track. All it takes is for you to be on track to becoming financially independent. And I promise you, everything in your life will be, you look at it through different glasses, okay? You'll go like this. You'll be like, man, I'm seeing my life a little bit clearer now. I'm ready to go. I'm on track to becoming financially independent. All right, so that was my dorky moment of the day. You guys were gonna get one. All right, so let's look here. Okay. Here's the thing. We're gonna go through this topic a little quick here because we're kind of running out of time here. But I want you to actually look, and if you want to take maybe a screenshot of this, or maybe take out your phone and take a picture of your screen, there are a few different places that you can put money. Okay, these are a few of them. You've heard of some of them. You maybe haven't heard of others. We're not going to cover too much on the topic here. But what I wanted to actually show you is that there is a way to actually filter through these, because if you were to go and learn all 16 of these, how it works, how to master it, it would take you a long time. It would take me a long time to even explain these 16 things to you, which is why we're not going to get into too many details. But some of you are looking on here, just make sure you recognize one or two. Okay, CDs, he covered that one. Raw land, if you go buy empty land, that's raw land. So you can at least get the idea here. There's houses on here and stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at all of these different areas, and we're going to put it on here. They're going to assign a number to each of them. Okay, so there's a number to each of them. And the individual ones is not that important. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 different tests. We're going to look at how liquid this is. What's the liquidity? That means how quickly can I get my money back out? If it's within about 10 days, it's considered to be liquid. Is it safe, or can I lose my investment? Can I put in money and lose it? That would be not safe. Or is it safe? Or is it relatively safe? And then what is the interest rate? What is the rate of return that you can get? What's your growth? So those are the 3 things we're going to look at. So we'll cover each of those as we go through here. So let's look at the first one, liquidity. Is it liquid? Well, we're going to cross a few off. Business ventures are not liquid. Limited partnerships are not liquid. Raw land, anything to do with real estate is not liquid. You can't get your money out of it in a matter of a couple of days. Equity in your house, also not liquid. It's real estate. So the idea is that those are not liquid investments, which means you put your money in, you need to leave it in there for a long time because it's very hard to get your money out quickly, which is called liquidity. Second test we're going to look at is safety test. So which of the following have a lot of risk involved in them, meaning they can fluctuate, you could lose money, quite a bit of money. Well, commodities are considered to be risky. Common stocks are risky. Also, we're going to have blue chip stocks. Anything to do with stocks is considered to be a risk. Now, there are very good benefits to stocks, so they're not all, risk doesn't mean bad, but those are going to be some examples there. Okay, let's look at the last one here. Which of the following has very limited rate of return, which means it doesn't grow very well? Well, high grade bonds don't grow very well. CDs don't grow very well. Money market funds don't grow. Treasury bills, they don't grow very well. So they're very limited rate of return. This is like more like bank account style. Okay, so what's left here? We have mutual funds, we have investment insurance, and we have annuities. Well, guess what? As a company, the 3 things that we do the most of as a company is we do mostly mutual funds, investment insurance, and annuities. Now, why did we come to this brilliant idea? All we did is we looked at all the places you could invest in. We crossed some off that didn't meet these tests, and we said, hey, these are probably the things that help people out financially. Then you go figure it out, and you say, hey, that actually works. Those things actually work. Mutual funds, investment insurance, and annuities are going to be the 3 areas over the long term that are going to give you the best overall benefits. So those are the 3 that we cover the most of. Now, we're going to be covering mostly today a little bit more on the topic of mutual funds. And I want to kind of show you what that is. What is a mutual fund? Well, you might be familiar with a stock, which means you own a piece of a company. It's like owning a banana. Okay, so you own that one company. Now, you can think of any company that's out there, whether it be like Facebook, Tesla, Netflix, whatever company you want to think of. You own one company, which means if that company does well, you do well. And if that company does poorly, you can actually lose a lot of money. So there's risky there because that one banana can go bad. Does that make sense? But a mutual fund is fruit. Mutual fund is technology companies rather than just Facebook. All technology companies. What that means is that your money is now diversified. You have more options. So if one of those takes a dive or goes bad, you got other pieces of fruit that you can eat, right? You got other things that are going to do well. And in a lot of cases, some of those fruits are going to be better, or some of those stocks are going to be better because you're owning more than one stock. So rather than owning one stock, you're going to own more than one stock, which is a mutual fund. You guys get the idea. It's diversified, and you're going to basically have the ability to have your money still grow, but not be at the same level of risk of having that one thing. And the way that we do this is by going through a lot of different companies. Rather than just picking one company, Google, Amazon, eBay, E-Trade, we're going to actually go with all these different companies. So all these different companies that are out there, this is called the S&P 500. So the letter S and the letter P, S&P 500. You can actually Google this and look at all the companies that are in there. These are the companies that are part of an index, which is called the S&P 500. Now, you guys have done business with most of these on here, so you're familiar with a lot of these different companies. These are big companies. They're well established. Imagine investing your money in all of these companies at the same time. That's why we use a mutual fund instead of an individual stock. You have to buy an individual stock in each one of these companies. That's going to be very challenging. But you can buy one mutual fund and invest in all these different companies at the same time. Okay, so we're going to skip over that example. Let's look at this one. Okay, so I want you guys to think about this. If I gave you $1, okay, if I gave you $1 and I doubled the dollar 20 times, so I give you $1, and then on the second day we're going to double it. We're going to double it. We're going to double it, and then we're going to double it again, and double it again, and double it again. At the end of 20 days, you have over $1 million. So $1 doubled 20 times becomes $1 million. Okay, that's the example on the left side of your screen. Now, if you did the exact same thing, you doubled the dollar 20 times, but each time you doubled it, you actually had to pay taxes on what you just gained. So you have $1, you grow your money to $2, but then you have to pay taxes and it comes back down a little bit. That is actually going to be taxes. So you're gonna, instead of having $4 at the end of the second double, you're gonna have $3. You guys get the idea? And it doubles a lot less frequently because you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Okay. And the only thing different here is that you're gonna pay tax each time you double it. Look at the difference in the end number. There's over $1 million of difference. So you're meaning to tell me, remember how we talked about the rule of 72, how many times you can double your dollar? If you were able to double your dollar 20 times, $1 would become $1 million. Now, I don't want to get you guys too excited. You can't take $1 and turn it into $1 million because you don't have enough time in your life to double your dollar 20 times. But I'll tell you this, if you could, and you were able to have $1 million, or if you're over here and you did it in a place that's taxable, and you doubled your dollar 20 times, you did the exact same work over the exact same period of time, but you had it in a taxable vehicle, you'd only have 28,000 instead of over $1 million. Huge difference, which is why when I say the words tax-free, your ears perk up because you inherently know that that's something you should pay attention to. Get your money in a vehicle where it's not going to be taxed, and you will win it in the end financially, even though you might not have $1 million out of every $1 that you put in. But you guys get the example. Okay. All right. So which would you rather have at retirement? We definitely know there. 28,000 versus $1 million. So let's say we actually get started on a plan. Okay, so here's a real live example of basically putting in money into an account. Now, this is what we call mutual fund, and I want you guys to look at the global concept here instead. This is one area where you don't need to maybe take notes, but we're going to look at starting. We can't necessarily project the stock market moving forward. Does anybody know what's going to happen in the stock market tomorrow? Because I don't. Right? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next year. Anybody that tells you that they do know what's coming is probably just not being honest. Does that make sense? So what we can do is we can look backwards, though. Now, looking backwards doesn't mean that's going to happen in the future, but it's at least a measurement. It's at least a place that we can look at to know what has happened. At least we know it's possible. So let's actually rewind way back as if you were getting ready to retire in the future. We have to go backwards to look at all that history, if that makes sense. Let's go back to 1950, and let's say you opened an account in 1950. Let's say you grew up in that era, okay? You open an account in 1950. Let's say you're 20 years old. You're 20 years old, you open an account, and you put away $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. So right here, this number, 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. That means you're putting away $250 a month. Okay, so $250 a month. And you do this over the course of your 20s, over the course of your 30s, over the course of your 40s, over the course of your 50s. You can keep going because you're loving this saving money thing. And you go all the way here until the year 2000. 1950 to the year 2000 is 50 years. 50 years. And you started when you were 20. So how old would you be at the end of 50 years? That's right. You'd be 70 years old. So that's full retirement age for most of you. Again, if you just follow along simple plans, you could be able to retire at 70. If you want to retire younger than that, you have to work at a little bit more advanced plans with some financial professionals. But let's say you wait all the way until 50. You had your money in this for 50 years, putting away $250 a month. How much money would you have? At the far right here, $13 million. And the last person that's been sleeping the whole time just woke up. $13 million. And, 13 million? I need to get some of that. Okay, so $13 million. How do you get to $13 million when you're only putting away $250 a month, well, what happened is you put this in an account that has grown on average around 12%. This fund, when we look backwards, is not at 10%. Remember how fun 10% was on the Rule of 72? This one's grown about 12%. Now, can you apply that moving forward? I wouldn't say yes. I wouldn't say you could do that, but it has happened in the past, which means it's possible and it's something we could look at. But if you had your money growing in a vehicle like this is actual real numbers. If you would apply real numbers over the last 50 years of growth, you'd get to $13 million. And that basically will keep growing even though you're now retired. Look at this. You're living off of in retirement, $700,000, $600,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year of income. Who wants to live off of $750,000 in their first year of retirement? I don't know about you guys, but that's going to give me a thumbs up. And what's going to happen is that your money's still going to grow because you're not taking all of it out. This is how you actually build financial independence. You're not going to run out of money in this example because look at your money keeps growing. At the end of 20 years of retirement, you have over 14 million. Look how much money you were taking out. You were taking out over $14 million, almost $14 million, and your account is worth over $14 million. You're like, Tim, I thought I had 13 million. How was I able to take 14 million out of 13 million? It kept growing. It kept growing to the point that you were able to take 14 million out and still have 14 million in there. Guys, the idea is not that we're going to all become multimillionaires and things like that. The point is that you can take power over your finances by starting with simple plans like putting away a couple $100 a month. And we really look at that over the course of that period of time. With the way that this fund performed, and this is just one example. Guess what? There's a lot of examples out there. I don't want you guys to get too lost in the numbers, but I want you guys to realize that you can take control and power back over your finances by going into these types of programs, right? So, real quick, last couple points we want to cover here. We want to look at different industries that are out there. Now, we're covering today the financial industry. But there's a few really big industries that are out there. The financial industry is a very big industry. The real estate industry is a very big industry. By the way, wherever you're at right now, you're in a home, apartment building, you're in a commercial building. Wherever you're at right now, you're in a real estate building. So that's a big market, right? Retail, all the stores that we work with that do retail sales, anywhere you can go shopping, that's a big industry too. So we want to compare those and let's look. The financial industry is about 4 times bigger than either one of those. And actually the financial industry, these numbers are a little bit outdated. The financial industry is over 100 trillion today, which is going to be significantly bigger. So you want to talk about biggest industries to get into. The financial industry is among the very biggest industries that you can get into as you're looking to start careers and things like that. So there's a huge opportunity in our industry, especially when you think about the number of people that need the type of education and the information that we're covering today. We do a phenomenal job and we're growing, we're expanding as an industry because we need more people to come in at younger ages, right? Because our traditional financial advisors, the industry is getting older and older and older, and they're going to start retiring. It's going to leave a huge gap in the number of people that we need in our industry that aren't there right now. So we're constantly looking at bringing new people in at a younger age to be able to start and work in the industry for a longer period of time. We're actually the number one, what's called a broker dealer. We're the number one broker dealer for female advisors in our industry. We actually double up on number 2. We're doing a tremendous job at working with women coming into our industry. And we've done this for years, a number of years in a row. We keep doing this. And we're number 1 on there, and we're not going anywhere because we keep bringing in more and more and more women into our industry, but also more and more men as well. But the idea is that we're doing such a phenomenal job for women in our industry that we're outpacing the field because a lot of women do very well in our company. And so here's basically the next steps for you to look at. Number 1, everyone on here, we're going to put this offer out, can take advantage of a complimentary financial plan, financial personal education to be able to help you out or your family out. So if you're thinking, man, I'm a student, I'm not making any money, or I don't have an income right now, I can't start saving money. Guess what? You probably have somebody that can benefit from these concepts. That's why I share the story about my dad and what we did for them. He would not have been able to retire if he didn't sit down with, frankly, somebody from our company, which in this case was myself, but it would have worked with anybody else from our company too. The point is that he had to work with a financial professional because he hadn't done that yet. So whether it be parents, whether it be friends, whether it be your siblings, whatever the case may be, there are people out there that need desperately right now to sit down with somebody and help them out financially. They need it so badly right now because they're struggling. They're struggling, they don't understand, they don't know where to turn, and they're going to look at the wrong places. I have people that, I'm on my Facebook feed and people are asking about financial advice to their Facebook account. And guess what? People are replying with the wrong answer. And they're saying, great, thank you for the information. I'll go take that wrong step. And people are listening to bad advice coming from places that, frankly, people are not qualified to be giving them advice about. So let's say, for example, you want to learn more about investing for your future. We can help you out with that. You want to learn about student debt relief. We have programs. We actually partner with student debt relief companies that can help with the student loans. If you have maybe an older sibling with a student loan, or maybe you're getting into it and you want to know more about it, that's a good example. We also do college planning. If you have a younger sibling that's looking to start saving for college and they have a few years in front of them, we actually have some college planning financial accounts that you can actually put money away for college. If you want to know more about life insurance, we definitely do a lot in that area as well. And that's an important part for you to do when you're young, by the way. Life insurance is something you want to have at some point in your life. If you can get it when you're super young, you're going to pay pennies on the dollar. And then if you were to wait. So it's something that is a really, really good thing for you to look at. If you plan on having success in your life, at some point, you plan on building a family, you plan on building a career, you plan on being financially successful, having life insurance at a young age is actually a super smart step to be able to do that. I wish I would have started mine about 10 years before I did, because that would have been awesome. But now I have some really good plans in place on that point. And also, if you want to know more about any career opportunities that we have in the financial field to be able to actually work with us on a part-time basis while you're going to school, while you're doing your other jobs, if you want to add extra income, remember I talked about you're only a couple steps away from adding extra income. What if you could add some extra income while you were teaching yourself about how money works? You could share this information with others. You could teach people about the rule of 72. You could share with them about compound interest, how money works, how money doubles. You can share with them these important concepts and make an additional income by working with a company like ours. That's an amazing thing. If you're interested in any of these things, and I definitely recommend either for yourself or if you have any referrals for us, we take our referrals very seriously. What's a referral? You say, hey, this isn't quite for me, but you need to talk with my brother, or you need to talk with my friend Joe. We take referrals very seriously, whether it be somebody that wants to actually work with the financial products and services in terms of being a client with us. And again, complimentary, right? No obligation. Or if somebody wants to actually work with us on more of a part-time basis to earn additional income, we have that as well. And there's your email you can send it to, chefinancialcalendar@gmail.com. That is Cindera's email, who introduced me. You can actually send an email over to her. She's going to gather those things up and she's going to make sure to reach back out to you and talk with you. So we want to put your information in there. Let's say you have if it's yourself, put your information. If it's a referral, you want to actually also put your information, because I actually have her reach out to you to actually talk about the referral. So if you say, hey, I want you to talk with my parents, I really like Tim's story about his dad and getting him on track. I wonder if my parents have everything in place like I think they do, or if they actually need help with a financial professional, which was my dad's story. I want her to actually speak with you about that before she reaches out. So this isn't something where somebody's just going to be calling people that you know, but you want to mention, hey, I want to actually help out these people. That's going to be a very important part on a referral, and we'll talk with you about that before we do so. I think that's important. But if you just want to put their contact information and have us reach out to them directly, that's fine too. But if that's not something that you want to do, then definitely put in there your information and that you have some referrals, and then we'll have Cindera reach out to you on that. With that, my time is a little bit over. I apologize for going over, but I hope everybody got great value out of today, and I hope you guys took some great notes. I saw a lot of nodding along. I saw a lot of people's eyes get bigger at a couple times, especially when the word free came out for some reason. People love free stuff. But you guys just got a free world-class financial education over the course of the last little bit over an hour. And I hope that you guys take some of these concepts to heart, remember them, hold them close, and say, hey, you know what? I can take a few more steps in my life to change my finances. You're in a position right now where you're in the right course, you're around the right people. Everyone in this group, I want you to connect with each other. You're all like-minded people focused on the right things. If you don't already have that set up, I definitely want to encourage you to do that and to network and things like that, because it's so important as you go through your life to have these people in your life that are focused on the right things. And I just commend every one of you for being a part of this class. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys got a great tremendous amount of value out of today's. And I really, thank you for putting this together. Armida, are you on the call still? I want to hand it back over to you. I know you guys have some people waiting in line. Again, I apologize about going over, but I definitely feel like it was important for us to go through couple of these things.
Yeah, I think that was amazing, and it's completely fine that you went over. I think everyone really enjoyed that, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We look forward to hearing from you. All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. That was really awesome, guys. I think that we all could understand from that why saving early is so important. It could cost you literally millions of dollars. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, you could also share in the chat. It was very inspiring, yes. And so we are also going to be sharing their email with you in a follow-up email. So if you guys are interested in having a consultation with them, it's completely free. Or if you want to have it with your family members, then you can like totally email them and schedule a call. Yeah, they're awesome. And also, someone said they had a question, so you can ask that in the chat if you want. If not, we are going to be having, wait, let me see in the chat. So for what they were talking about, the best way to be able to grow your money would be through investing it. And so what you would have to find is, I think that if you want to talk about that, it would be a good idea to email them and discuss that because they'd be able to give you personalized advice. Yes, we will send you their email in a follow-up email that we will send probably today. Okay, so now we're going to be having a quizzes game related to saving. So I'm going to share my screen on how to join that shortly. So I'm sharing my screen and this is the code so you guys can join on quizzes and then we can get started. So we can get started now. Okay, guys, so I will begin to share my screen in a minute and we can do the final presentation. Okay, so we can begin our final presentation.
So before we start, I'd just like to introduce myself. So I'm Sharia and I'm a mentor at EmpowerEcon. So now that you've learned about all the different types of savings, so you're probably curious about how to begin your journey of creating a savings account, especially right after you heard Mr. Tim speak. So the first step you could take towards starting this journey is actually hiring a financial advisor. So Mr. Tim, who was the previous speaker, he himself is actually a financial advisor, and they will do all the hard work for you by researching the various types of saving accounts with the best interest rates, and this will help you create your financial goals. They will guide you along the way to effectively manage your money. However, the downside of hiring a financial advisor is that it can be costly at times. However, they can help you earn money, which can balance out the cost of hiring. And usually, the ratio for the money to the money earned is a lot higher than the time that you would spend figuring all the stuff out on your own. And another way you can get started is to be your own financial advisor. So you can become financially literate and begin to take steps towards establishing a financial credit. A few of the ways to do this is by taking free online finance and economics classes on websites such as EDX, Coursera, and Khan Academy. And these are just some of the websites, some of the most common used websites. But there's also other websites such as Udemy, where you can take paid online classes which give you certification. You can find more free online classes and economics by just searching of free online finance and economic courses. And even some high schools offer finance and economic classes where you can earn a certificate after successfully completing the course and the class. And these are very helpful. Now, even if you don't want to go into finance or business in the future, and let's say you want to go into engineering, and your prerequisites are mostly sciences, what you could do is that you could take these finance and economics classes in your summer break and earn a certification with it, depending on how your school board allows you to tackle this. So there's various finance and economics classes, and I know that Armida has been taking these since 10th grade, and they're one of the and as per her, they're one of the most helpful and useful classes that she's ever taken. In fact, if you guys don't already know, Armida has actually written a book about which is a roadmap to financial literacy, and this book covers everything you need to know, from the type of savings account you need to get, to the banks that offer these accounts, and to investing your money and to saving your money. So this just covers everything you need to know, and she was able to do so by learning a lot about economic and finance classes. And if you're taking online classes and those are not necessarily your forte, you can read articles online. So there's nerdwallet.com and Forbes.com is also extremely helpful. And these websites would just introduce you to these financial concepts about how you could get started on your financial journey. They would give you these helpful tips and breakdowns of topics, like when you should take certain steps in your financial journey. Now, who here knows what certification you actually need to be a financial advisor? There's a specific certificate that you take after university where you can be a certified financial advisor, which just says that yes, I have the qualifications and the knowledge to give financial advice to other individuals so they can help grow their money. Who has an idea of what that certification is called? So just take a guess, because I'll give you a hint. So there's actually a certification for, yes, CPA. CPA is for accountant, so that's Chartered Professional Accountant. There's a certification specifically made for financial advisors. You want to take a guess? CFA, yes. So CFA is another certification, but that is more for towards so CFA is more towards financial analysis, and basically in CFA it's more driven towards investment and financial professionals, and this relates to investment bankers and even at times stock traders and stockbrokers. Yes, so the correct one is CFP, which is Chartered Financial Planning. So good job. I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but good job. I couldn't for the correct answer, but yeah. So the proper certification needed is CFP, Chartered Financial Planning. So alongside this, you need to apply your knowledge. So after you begin to become financially literate, you can write down the financial goals that you want to accomplish. And these can be both short-term and long-term, and they can be as simple as saving $500 or as monumental as purchasing your first house. And determine these specific goals you may have makes the process of choosing a savings account easier. So when you make these goals, be sure to refer to SMART. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So make your goal specific. Tell yourself what to do. Be like, I need to create an emergency savings fund, or I need to pay off my college debt. And then after this, make these goals measurable. So say that in around 2 years, in 2 years, I want to create my savings fund, or in the next 6 months, I want to pay off my student debt, and make this achievable, make this realistic. So you're actually able to achieve these goals, because once you achieve these goals, it feels very rewarding when you achieve a financial goal. And lastly, as mentioned previously, make this timely. So time yourself, because these are goals that are just made to help you out. And these are goals that would make your life a lot easier. So create realistic goals and rewarding financial goals that you will be able to achieve, and do follow the long-term and short-term goals. So a long-term goal might be to pay off your mortgage. A short-term goal might be to maybe pay off your student debt in the next 6 months if you're just a fresh graduate, and create goals which would help ease off your financial life. And basically, it's going to be it might feel like a big trade-off right now, but think for the long term, because in the long term, these goals are what will really help you out, and these would help guide you throughout your journey. And these can basically include just building an emergency fund, and for most of us here, that what would be applicable is saving for college, which would be really helpful, because that would reduce down the college or the tuition loans that you might take in the future. So who here has thought of a goal that they want to achieve in, let's say, the next year, a financial goal? You guys can just write it down in the chat. And a financial goal that I have thought that I have thought myself is that I actually want to get a job this year after COVID ends, hopefully. Yeah, so financial freedom before finishing high school, that's a big goal, and that's definitely achievable if you take the right steps. Yeah, so as I can see that there's a lot of saving money for university, and moving out of your parents' house. So that's also pretty good, because university is something that is going to come up for most of us in the future, in the near future, I would say. So after you create these goals and you plan this out, execute, start bringing your plan into action. Most of us, we just think of a goal and we have this entire plan for it. We plan this out and we want to achieve this, but we're unable to bring it into action. But it's only you who can take the initiative to start the execution. And just as a team, it's a lot easier to execute these goals because we don't have any burden on ourselves. As we grow older, there's more complications, so we have more responsibilities. But as of now, we really don't have any responsibilities, and that is why it's a lot easier to start from a young age than to start in the future. And this would also you would also learn and improvise throughout your process. So when you make your next financial goal, you'll be more well prepared. And be smart about your execution. So for example, choose the right account to put your funds towards, which would bring a high rate, and even try investing some of your money so it grows faster. And lastly, be honest with yourself because your financial plan is only there to help you out. It's not there to help anyone else out. It's only there to help you out. So really be honest with yourself about how you feel about your goal and about your execution. And this is a bit of an optional type of thing, but try finding a friend to execute your goal with. So find a friend with a similar goal because it's much easier to talk about money as a team. So when you work together with a friend to achieve your goals, not only does this bring motivation, but it helps bring support for you throughout the process. And not only this, you would learn together and bring and maintain and maintain and bring lifelong friendships. And when you find a friend, this would help you to keep yourself on track. So if you think that, oh, I should take $500 off and buy a PS5, your friend might be able to stop you through that, and vice versa. And when your friend thinks that, oh, I should take $500 and buy this new laptop or buy this new phone, you might be able to help your friend out and keep each other on track. So now I want to go over some positive saving habits that would help you out save and achieve your financial goals as a team. The most important one is to organize yourself. So keep your funds in a bank account. Keep your money in a bank account so your money is organized in one place. When you keep a lot of cash on you, you get a lot of change in hand. So you get a lot of coins, and these are usually like toonies and boonies, and you would usually tend to lose them, and that's not optimal when you're trying to save your money. So that's why it's important that you keep your funds in a bank account so your money is organized and is in one place, because those that loose change, it really starts to add up. And have a separate checking and a savings account. So keep your day-to-day purchases in your checking account and your discretionary income, which is your income after your expenses, in your savings account. And this is really important because you actually need to take the money out of your savings account to your checking account, and your savings account also builds interest for your money. As per when you have money in your checking account for your day-to-day purchases, it's going to be a lot easier for you to know that that's my spending money, that's the money I could spend, and you're going to think twice before you take the money out of your savings account and try spending that. Another rule that I personally like to follow is the 50-30-20 rule. So 50-30-20 rule is 50% needs, 30% wants, and 20% savings and debt repayments. So you guys should follow and even try to beat this rule by increasing the percent on savings and debt repayment. And so who here knows how millionaires tend to grow their money? Who here can take a guess? Yes, so investing is the main aspect of how millionaires grow their money. So what millionaires tend to do is that they beat the system, they beat the 50-30-20 rule. Usually their needs and their wants, they're less than 10%, and their savings and debt repayment, which they start to invest, are over 90%, which is how they tend to kind of beat this rule, save their money, invest, and grow it in the long term, so they're financially secure. And that's how money basically attracts money, because the more money that you invest, obviously, the more money that you would gain. However, what you should really try doing as a team is try beating this rule, because this is kind of like the base rule around how budgeting should work. But once you start beating this rule, then that means that you're on the right track to be to achieve financial freedom. How also this may be strict, but try the rewarding process, because we've all been there. We've all been at a good sale at a store or mall, and we wish we would have saved our last $50 or $20 to in order to purchase something, because saving is an extremely rewarding process, because you're able to see your finances develop and mature along the years. So a way to see savings as a reward and not a choice is to treat yourself with a gift every now and then. By doing this, you're forming an emotional connection to your finances, and you're becoming aware that if you save up enough money, you would be able to buy yourself a gift. Another way to think about the rewarding process is free money that you're earning from interest, and this is by depositing your own money into your savings account. However, you're also earning interest on your account, which is practically free money. So when you actually deposit your money into your savings account, the bank gives you an interest, which is usually per annum. And I would go over all these various different types of bank accounts that you could open for saving and for getting a high interest rate, but also try to free the interest money that you're earning as a part of the rewarding process. And it can be extremely rewarding to save when you envision the financial goals you have for yourself and how you're becoming closer and closer to accomplishing them every day. It can be motivating to continue saving when you realize that you're investing into your future. When you're saving money, you're also saving your life by reducing the risk of you sinking under or going into debt in case of an unexpected emergency. And a clear example of this is COVID-19, where we've seen so many job losses and so many pay cutoffs, which was extremely hard for some families. However, if you were to invest and save during the economic boom periods, during when the salaries were increasing while the price was the same, so basically during the period when there was a lot of prosperity, then that could create good a good financial setting for you during the times of need, which is, for example, COVID-19 right now. And this just basically leads me to my next point. And you should set these financial goals for yourself, because this can make the process of saving exciting, because you're actively working towards being healthier. So next, think for the long term. So think for the long term. Decrease your wants, and basically just think for the long run. Decreasing your wants now will allow you to save and invest your money, so in the future it can grow exponentially, because as you all know, money attracts money. And as Mr. Tim spoke about, that if you double your money every day, you can have over $1 million after the 30th day, because you're exponentially growing your money. And this is a personal thing that helps me, but try blocking your money. So keep your discretionary income in investments, which essentially blocks it. So basically, what I mean by block is that this money is just blocked there. So you have to basically go through a whole process just to take it out. And this would improve your spending habits and your saving habits while your money is growing in those blocks at the same time, in those investments where you have blocked your money. And this would also improve your saving habits while your money is growing. So there's various different types of savings account that you could actually look into. There's the regular and the traditional savings account. So traditional savings accounts are accounts you'll commonly find at banks or at credit unions. And traditional savings accounts are regarded as the financial goals accounts, because it helps the users achieve their financial goals by placing limitations on the account. Typically, money cannot be taken out of this account more than 6 times a month, because the sole purpose of this account is to save and not to spend. However, you have to pay fees to take that money out. If money is taken out more than 6 times a month, you would need to pay a penalty fees, which is usually around $2 to $3. In order to set up a regular and a traditional savings account, you have to deposit the minimum requirement for the specific bank you're creating the savings account with. And from there, you can establish a recurring deposit that will be taken out of your checking account and automatically placed into your savings account. For instance, if you earn $100 per paycheck and you want 25% of your paycheck to go into your savings account every time you're paid, then $25 will go into your account every time you're paid. And as mentioned with the 50, 30, and the 20 rule, when you have 25% of your check go into your savings account, that means you're beating that rule. So basically, some of the pros of this is that money is federally assured for up to $250,000, which means there's a less risk of losing money if there is a circumstance at the bank such as robberies. However, if, for example, you put your money in a bank with a national reputation, such as for Canada, it's a TD Bank or the Bank of Nova Scotia. So if you put your money in banks such as these, there's really no risk of losing your money because this holds a national reputation. If, for example, I have $10,000 in my bank account, and at a point in time I'm unable to take this money out, that would create kind of like a national shame for the Canadian banking system. So such banks, they really make sure that that I, as a customer, I have access to my funds at all times. So putting your money in a regular or traditional savings account has very minimum risk. However, there may be like a fees to open this account, and there's usually smaller interest rates in a regular or traditional savings account than with other savings account, which I would also be going through, And it's more tempting to withdraw your money in a savings account because it's liquid. And what I mean by liquid is that liquid is just a cash that you have on hand. So as I mentioned previously, this money is not blocked. You can just take this out anytime and deposit it back anytime. And deposit it back anytime you please to do so. And you have to pay a fee if you exceed the monthly withdrawal limit. So by the withdrawal limit, it's if I can only withdraw my money from the bank account. So if I only withdraw my money from the bank account 6 times a month, and if I do it 7 or 8 times a month, then I would have to pay a fees to do so. So then there's a money market savings. So these are for the emergency fund accounts, and usually the interest here is higher than the regular savings account. And a money market account is a type of savings account that pays interest based on the current interest rates of the money market. Who here knows what the current interest rate is of the money market? Who wants to take a guess what it is? Yep, so it is actually 0.1%, which obviously is pretty low. So that's why with a money market savings account, the interest is higher. The interest is on the current interest rates of the money market, which is pretty low, but it usually tends to grow up depending on how the economy is doing. And currently, the economy is on kind of like a recovery stage. So in the future, with the money market savings account, it would definitely grow up. And these accounts can be found at both banks and credit unions. So money market accounts are referred to as emergency fund accounts because users are usually able to save for at least 3 to 6 months of funds, which is the recommended amount to save in case of emergencies. And as I mentioned previously, if one of your financial goals is to save up for an emergency fund, then the money market savings account is the way to go to, is what you should go towards. Because usually when you need an emergency, it's due to an economic decline. And when an economic decline occurs, then even the investments that you've put your money towards, they would also be declining. So it's really important that you put your emergency funds in a bank account, which beats the inflation. So after the savings account, the bank typically uses the money to provide loans to others. However, it can be used for a certificate of deposit account, so CDs, and bonds. And in exchange for this, the bank is actually willing to pay you a higher interest rate if you open a money market account as opposed to a regular savings account. So in this, money can be withdrawn from this account around 6 times a month, and this is similar to a traditional savings account. If the users exceed the withdrawal limit, you'll be required to pay a fees. And typically, users must keep a minimum balance of $5,000 in this account at all times. So those $5,000 are just blocked in your money market savings account. And when those $5,000 are withdrawn, then the bank would start questioning how you're managing your money in these accounts. And this money is insured by the Federal Deposit Corporation, the FDIC, for up to $250,000. But as I mentioned previously, with banks with a high reputation, such as TD Bank or the Bank of Montreal or the Bank of Nova Scotia in Canada, usually this money would stay as is. So, and money market accounts are very similar to checking accounts because users are able to write checks and have an ATM card at the same time. So basically, just before setting your account, you should research the different minimum deposits needed to open up the account and the minimum balance required to maintain the account to determine which option is best for you. So in order to set up a money market account, users will have to pay the deposit. Users will have to deposit the minimum balance for the specific bank or credit union you're setting your account with. So just by a thumbs up, is everyone following along with me? All right, awesome. I see a few thumbs up. Okay, so the next are high yield accounts, and these types of savings accounts provide a higher APY than other types of savings account, hence why they are known as high yield. Now, who here knows what an APY is? What is the full form of an APY? Yes, so APY is the annual percentage yield, and the annual percentage yield is just the interest which you get on the accounts. And the approach for this is that there's a higher interest rate than the traditional savings account, and with a lower minimum deposit required for these accounts. So basically, you're just less likely to be charged a monthly fee at online banks. And an example of an online bank in Canada is Tangerine Bank. So usually you're less likely to be charged a minimum monthly fee for these because these banks, they don't actually have to pay for the buildings and for the buildings for their offices and their buildings. So that's why they're able to provide you with the no monthly fees type of thing. But however, there's a few cons for this because you can't directly deposit cash into your account at a bank branch, and it can take a few days to transfer your money between an online account and an account at a bank, and it can just take like around 3 to 4 business days, which sometimes becomes a hassle. So next we have specialty savings accounts, and as I mentioned previously, if you want to achieve a financial goal, then this is the type of account that you should open. And to open a specialty savings account, it is recommended that you speak directly with a financial consultant at a financial institute. And by what I mean by that is that you should speak to a banker at your local bank. So with the specialty savings account, you can basically earn interest on your savings, and this helps you earn your specific financial goals. However, these are usually low interest, and this may not be ideal if you only have a broad or general array of goals. So you really need to have a specific goal towards what you're working towards, and put your money in the specialty savings account. As I mentioned previously, be smart about your goals and put your money in the right place, and that really decreases the timeline of how you need to achieve your financial goals. So then we have the cash management accounts, and these are accounts that are specifically made for managing money and making payments while also earning a low mid amount of interest. So it is recommended for those who are interested in short-term investing and investing their disposable income to have a cash management account because this provides the low risk income and your disposable income will automatically go towards investing. However, there's a few cons to this because this money may not be FDIC insured, but as I mentioned previously, if you have a bank such as TD Bank or a national or a bank with a high reputation in your country, then you don't really need to worry about the FDIC. You basically only need to worry about it if you're working with a medium-sized or a small bank. But basically, with a cash management, this is an account which you should go towards if you're trying to invest your money. And then lastly, we have the checking accounts, and these are accounts that are only made for spending. And the checking accounts, they're a very common account, and they allow you to establish and build your credit by making these payments on time. So checking accounts are just unrestricted accounts. There's no limit on number of withdrawals you can make. They're very accessible, and they're also insured by the FDIC, typically insured for up to $250,000. However, the interest rates are not very high, and this also tends to build your this also starts to build your credit history, and there's also potential of overdrafting. So as a teen, if you're opening up a bank account in Canada, you would most probably open up a youth savings account, and it's not really a savings account; it's actually a checking account because there's no savings aspect towards it. But with a checking account, so as a teen, it actually starts to like build your credit and your relationship with the bank, which is also very important. So if you're a teen and if you're in Canada, then you would probably have a checking account which you can where you can just access your money anytime, and you can just access your money anytime and withdraw or deposit the money. And even in Canada, with one of the most popular banks, which is a TD Bank, the interest rate for a youth savings account or a checking account is very minimal. It's 0.05% per annum, which is very low for any type of savings, like for any type of bank account. So now here's just a few questions that would test your knowledge. So, who is the best person to consult with when making money decisions? Yes, that is correct. Financial advisors are the best people to consult when you're making money decisions because they have the qualifications and the certifications, and they know how, where, and when your money, how, and where your money needs to go to grow itself. So, what is the best account for high interest rates? Money market, that is close. That is a bit close. No, it's not a Roth IRA. Yeah, so it is actually certificate of deposit. And even in some countries, if you have a certificate of deposit account, they pay a lot higher interest rates than in USA or Canada. So I come from India, and in India, the certificate of deposit accounts give you 7% per annum. So if you have $1 million in your certificate of deposit account, you can earn $70,000 per annum just from it. So you can just earn passive income while you're sitting at home you're not really even investing your money. You're just putting your money in a certificate of deposit account, and you're earning money from it. But in USA and Canada, I think the interest rate is around 3 to 4%. It's a bit on the lower spectrum because banks they actually take your money and they loan it out to other people, as I mentioned before. So what happens is that here interest rates are a lot lower than interest rates in developing countries such as India. So that is why here the interest rate is a lot lower on such bank accounts than the accounts in India. So what are the four steps for saving your money? These are the steps that I went through when I talked about making financial goals. Yes, so that's very close. So it's to create a goal, plan it out, execute, and find a friend. So, and you need to create a SMART goal along with that. And lastly, what is the best rule to follow when allocating your paycheck? Yes, so that's very close. It's the 50-30 by the 20 rule. So, who here can revise the 50-30-20 rule? So yes, so that's perfect. 50 is the expenses, 30 is the wants, and 20 is the savings and debt repayment. So that's amazing. All right, so this is all for me. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat, and I'll try to answer to those questions. Other than that, I'll pass it back to Armida.
Thank you. That was amazing. So thank you guys for joining us today. We did go a little over time, but before you do leave, we also want to send in a feedback survey in order to see what you guys thought of today's event. So I'm going to send that in the chat right now. And if you guys can take a minute to fill that out, it would be amazing. Okay, so I've sent it in the chat. And so before you leave, please take a minute to fill out that form so that we understand what you guys liked about today's event, what you didn't, what we can improve, and all of that, because we read everyone's responses and love to hear feedback. Once you're done, type that in the chat. Yes, we will be sending the slides in follow-up emails shortly, and we're also going to include some additional information in that as well. Thanks to everyone who's filling out the forms. Please continue to do that if you haven't already. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining. So if you haven't filled out the survey, please continue to do that. But for everyone else, you guys can leave. Thank you so much for joining, and we're excited to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.